Hi guys, my name is Chelsea, and in today's video we are going to build a vintage or antique inspired bench. You guys have probably seen them popping up kind of all over. They are really pricey. They can be hundreds of dollars. My project is going to be under $40, but there is some variation in price, which I'll tell you about in a moment. This video is going to be really straightforward. There's not going to be pocket holes or angle cuts or any of that. It's going to be just a really simple bench. I'm going to put it at the end of my bed. I know not everyone loves that trend, but I personally am really enjoying it. I like that I have an extra space to put a few cute things or maybe some books. So that's what we're going to be doing today. Now, in terms of the board, I used an 8-foot board, and my board was, I believe, about $38. There were less expensive options. However, I chose to go with the better wood to reduce the chances of warping. If I'm making a bench, I don't want to have to worry in a few months that my board is going to kind of warp or change shape and I'm not going to have a straight bench. We don't want that. So I opted to pay for a board that was a little bit more than some of the other options, but I just think I'm going to have better long-term success with that, but do whatever's right for you, do whatever is right for your budget. Otherwise, let's go ahead and get started on this bench. All right, we are in my garage and I have got my regular board and my little legs. This board is about 48 inches or 4 feet, and these boards are going to be about 15 inches. So my bench will stand in total about 16 inches high. I just had my pieces cut at the hardware store. It is always easier, especially then I'm not carrying out an 8-foot board. So they just cut it down for me there. And we are actually going to move in what I think will be the fun and therapeutic part of this, which is distressing these boards. So here is the board that I'm going to be using, and then here are just some tools that I'm going to be using to distress this piece. Hammers, scrapers, pliers, all sorts of things. Now, there is truly no rhyme or reason to how you begin distressing this. I am clearly just swinging this hammer and letting it make dents and divots. I'm going to go ahead and actually flip it over here in a minute and use the backside to really take little chunks out of the bench as well. So to get an idea of what these marks are looking like, that is a piece from the back of the hammer. These kind of smaller little circular marks are from the front, and they're just kind of taking little divots out, but again, it's totally up to you what you would like to use. I am just going ahead and using the hammer to basically kind of crush in the corners as well as kind of the perimeter of the board. One of the things that's going to make a board look aged is really being more rounded and not having crisp, clean lines. How much you distress is ultimately entirely up to you, but what I will say is when you're done, it may seem like there's less distressing than what you really feel like you did, just because some of these steps are a little bit labor intensive. I really wanted a lot of distressing, so I made sure to go in with a lot of different tools and hit and scratch and chip away at this wood. Again, it's totally up to you, but I think that a little bit more in this case is better if you're going for a vintage look. While I don't necessarily recommend doing this in your lap like I am, I will say the handsaw was one of my favorite tools for this distressing project. It really cut some great deep lines into the piece. So here's kind of what we achieved with our distressing. There's lots of scratches, dents, chips, all sorts of things. You really want to make sure you have different types of distressing methods so that the board really looks aged. Hey guys, it's another day. I'm back in the garage. It is an unseasonably warm day. I have short sleeves on. We are going to continue with our bench project. I have it set up over here. It's not measured or anything. It's not attached, of course. It's just kind of set up so I can get a general idea of what it's going to look like. We did some distressing yesterday, but today we're going to move into actually getting the boards attached together. This is going to be super straightforward, no pocket holes. There's obviously no angle cuts in this, just super simple. So we're gonna go ahead and get started. Here I'm just measuring in from the edge how far I want the legs to go. I believe I did about 8.5 inches from the exterior. My bench will be screwed together, but I'm going to take some wood glue and just paint it on the top of the legs here. This will just be a little bit extra reinforcement. Here I'm going to begin just screwing in the screws through the top. Now I definitely recommend you pre-drill your holes. It's going to make going through both boards that much easier. Because these screws are going to be on the top of the bench, you want to push them in and make sure they are as flush as possible with the top of the wood. Once I have my first leg screwed in, I'm just going to go back and make sure that the other leg is still correctly measured. I know that it might have moved a little bit when I was screwing in the first leg, so we just want to make sure that we get it even again. Here again, I'm just going to go ahead and screw through my pre-drilled holes. After each screw, I'm just making sure that the board is even and did not turn at all. If it did, I just want to make sure that I straighten it back out before I put the next screw in. Alright, our bench is fully assembled. Alright guys, now you can do what you're going to see here. My project still ended out totally fine, but I think that I've actually discovered an easier way for you to do this. I used kind of a lot of wood filler to really fill in that screw and then kind of the surrounding area. What I found afterwards is you really do not need to do this. You can take a tiny amount and just kind of fill in the little hole on the top of the screw where your drill bit goes, and then once that dries, just kind of dab with a little tiny paintbrush, whatever product you're using to stain or paint your bench. This has so much distressing that the screws basically disappear into the project and you don't even see them. So again, you can do it this way if you want to, but I definitely think it would be a little bit easier if you did it the way that I just described. Alright guys, we are hopefully on what I think will be the last day of this bench project. I have it here behind me. The wood filler has completely dried, so now we're going to go ahead and sand the bench down. And you're probably thinking, why would we sand a bench that we just went through all the trouble of distressing? And the reason is we're sanding the bench very lightly just to make sure that there's no jagged pieces sticking up. I don't know about you, but I would really prefer not to have a splinter from sitting or, moving the bench. So it's just to make sure we get kind of like the jagged pieces off if there are any, but all of the distressing will remain. Alright, it is time to stain this board, and here's the thing. You can make this project as much of your own as you wanted to. Distress it as much as you like, don't distress it, stain it, leave it natural, just seal it. The options are endless. Just do whatever is the best fit or the most like your style. I'm gonna stain mine, but I'm not sure how dark I want to make it. I've got some stain here, some mineral spirits. Mineral spirits is awesome for kind of lifting stain, or you can mix it with stain to take out the saturation. I've got that here, I've got a rag, so I think I'm just going to kind of wing it and see what we end up with. My battery is about to die, so I'm trying to film this quick, but our bench is pretty much done. The spots that had where like the nail were filled, they're gonna dry at a different rate, so we gotta let those dry overnight. Alright you guys, it is time to bring our bench in and get it styled so that we can do the reveal. Now when it comes to styling your new bench, you can of course do whatever you like. I'm going to style in a way that feels really authentic to me, which of course includes lots of books, some dried florals, and that little vessel there is one that I actually just did a DIY on my last video, so I'll leave a link to that in the description box if you'd like to check out how I turn this little pot from plain glass to kind of a rustic pottery piece. I don't want to overdo the styling, so let's just go ahead and reveal this in 3, 2, 1. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this simple DIY, and I'll see you in my next video. Take care.